Your folder's always so fresh.
All right, hello, everyone. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Groton Complete Streets Advisory Committee July meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. I'm Brian Kent, Chair.
Tom Olson, member.
Teresa Granatowski, member.
Cindy Berry, Ledgelight Health District.
Lori Hendrickson, member.
Greg Hanover, Public Works Director.
Deb Jones, Planning and Development.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next item is communications. Has anyone received any direct communications? The one that I've received, I think all of you on the board have as well, is the notification that we must attend the ABCs of harassment training. Or maybe it's ABC harassment training. Everyone got that?
Yes.
Okay, so sounds like it's mandatory. You can be in person, or I inquired about a virtual link, and it looks like that would come out possibly as late as the day of. I mean, it's not something that's posted in an email a week in advance. So if you're interested in a virtual attendance, then just I think you just need to sit tight and wait, or let Lisa know that that's what you're planning to do. All right, let's move on to the minutes.
Move acceptance of the minutes of June 26, 2024.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? Okay,
I know I'm not a member, but these are special meeting minutes, not regular, and I wasn't there.
Well, the special meeting, yeah, and I, in the minutes in the last meeting, I had you listed as not present. Members, staff not present. Yes,
This was a meeting last week.
I'll correct that then.
oh, it just shows that.
Oh,
It
okay,
says revised special meeting agenda.
okay.
I think as we changed the, did we change the date or something on it?
We had to change the date
Because
because
of Juneteenth.
the holiday. Right.
Right.
Okay. I will make those corrections.
All right. Are we all in favor of the minutes? Yes. Okay. Okay. So for new business, the item that I am aware of that I want to bring up is the Mystic Drawbridge renovation project. Now, if you've lived in town long enough, you remember the previous renovation project, and you might be wondering, why are they doing that again? But it's a very old bridge and it must be renovated periodically. And so its turn has come around again. And it has presented an opportunity to make the bridge deck more bicycle friendly. So that's what's really, I think, significant and of interest to our group. And it's largely in response to advocacy by members of Bike Stonington that that DOT is considering, perhaps planning, to include the special plates that are attached to the metal bridge deck that would provide a bike lane in each direction. And there are case studies where this product has been used successfully in northern climates on similar bridges, and the engineers have apparently done their homework and determined that it's feasible. At the Gold Star Bridge Public Information Meeting a few weeks ago that I attended, and was also attended by Jen Lacker of Bike Stonington. Jen had a conversation with the chief of the bridge division for the states. He was at that meeting. And what he told Jen about this is that they were really seriously looking at it, but that he came down to Mystic just to observe the bridge early one morning, like at like 5 a.m, and just to see kind of morning peak traffic from beginning to end. And he was shocked by the volume of bicyclists that were going across the bridge. He just didn't realize that so many people rode across the bridge. And I think that just really cemented the understanding that there was a really strong need for this. So it would be great if you can attend this meeting. I think it's only virtual.
That's all I've seen.
I think it's only virtual. Yeah. So that's a Monday, I think, July 29th. Does anyone have their calendar?
Yeah, you're right.
But-
July 20.
Okay, so it's a Monday night. Yeah, that's right. They do these meetings on Monday nights. So sign up for it. I think you have to register in advance. And listen in. Also share it with your contacts. The more people that show interest, the better. So that's what I know about it. Does anyone else have anything that they can share about that? Okay. All right, let's move on to the Complete Streets and Trails project update from FHI. We have, looks like we have Francisco and Rory and Nicole here. Thank you all for being here. What I asked you to be prepared to tell us is to update us on the status of the survey. These are just my specific requests. I know there's more to tell us. And then also for us to have a discussion about the type and perhaps possible location of demonstration projects that your firm is scoped to conduct here in town. So I'll let you take it away. Looks like Francisco, you're ready. So thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, and I have a presentation to help us walk through that discussion. And I take it everyone can see the presentation, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So Mark, as you had mentioned, or not Mark, but Brian, as you had mentioned, we'll talk about our ongoing work. We'll talk about the survey update. I'd like to update you on focus group meetings that we've conducted, and then we will talk about the demonstration project and our next steps to follow. So with ongoing work, a bulk of our work, and Nicole is doing the heavy lifting on this for us, involves developing the preferred bicycle network map, which, and I introduced this to you at our last meeting, but just refresh your memories because we are actively working on this. Involves taking a look at and building upon the existing conditions work we did of existing bicycle facilities, existing signed bicycle routes, and preferred corridors that people have told us they prefer to ride, as well as planned facilities. And so now we're making this composite map of recommended facilities or preferred facilities, and we're breaking that up by type, and it covers the entire town, and we're even showing facilities that have been recommended in the city of Groton as well. So this involves closely looking at each corridor, taking a look at the roadway conditions, the width of the roadway, the right-of-way width, the traffic volume, speed data if available, and identifying what we think would be an appropriate, safe, and feasible facility type for that corridor, with a range of facility types that we are identifying along the way. So that work is ongoing, and it's really going to comprise a bulk of your plan and deliverable, at least the bike side of things. Next, you had asked about the online survey. We've had a bump of close to 100, I know at least over 50 responses since we last met. So we're now over 500. We have 532 responses, including one Spanish language response. And we do plan on keeping the survey open through September. So we have additional opportunities to promote participation in this. I think getting north of 500 is just a nice number. to hit. That's, 500, that's a lot of responses. That being said, if we get higher, that would be fantastic. And I know that Mark and others have been doing everything they can to promote this and encourage participation.
Francisco, I have a question about
Yes.
the survey.
Yes.
How does our response rate so far compare to the rate that you see in other communities and that you would expect to use as a representative, sample?
Yeah.
Just kind of in your professional practice?
Okay, that's a great question. So first, this is not a statistically valid survey in that we have not intentionally reached out to a representative cross-section of the community and successfully gotten their participation. So I don't want to suggest that the survey results will be adequately representative of the full diversity of opinions about biking and walking in Groton. It's a sample. And it's one more piece of information to help inform us along the way. So we find as planners, we find the information that we receive from these surveys incredibly useful, particularly the open-ended responses. It gives us a tremendous amount of insight into people's concerns. And that is true of responses on both ends of the spectrum, the pro-bike walk and the anti-bike walk, for which we typically will have the extremes, as you might imagine. So it's very helpful to us. That being said, we don't build any policy decisions based upon a question asked in the survey alone. It's one more piece of information. In terms of the response rate, 500 is a good number. We sometimes struggle when we are doing a plan of conservation and development, which is, a very broad plan that should speak to a much wider range of residents. We sometimes struggle to get above 500 or close to 1,000 for that matter. So I think this is a healthy participation. If we were at around 200 or 300, I would feel like we're really coming up short on our potential to connect with people. But I feel comfortable with anywhere north of 500 that will have received a diversity of perspectives, and we'll get a lot of feedback that will help guide us along the way.
So I have a follow-up question to that.
Yep, sure.
Are you actively inputting the data into spreadsheets to tabulate responses? Is that like a living document for you, or are you waiting until you've closed the survey to do that?
Yeah, we're waiting till we close the survey. That being said, we could pull down data if we needed guidance on something, or there was a question we wanted to see what the public thought of it. It was informative to our process. We could certainly download a summary report. The survey is conducted through SurveyMonkey, and so we can pull the data out as a summary report PDF. We can pull it into Excel to do additional calculations. So we can do some analysis on it. Generally speaking, we pull down the results. Much of it will include open-ended responses. So people write a sentence, a paragraph, or more. And typically we'll distill that down into some basic themes. And that's how we use that open-ended response information. But to directly answer your question, generally speaking, we want to wait until we get to the end of this thing, close it out, and then pull down all the information, start sorting through it, because there's quite a bit of work involved in making sense of it all. And we don't want to have to do that 2 or 3 times along the way.
Right. So you mentioned the survey would close in September.
Right.
Have we chosen a date? Are we talking about the 1st of September, the end of September?
Yeah, that is a good question. That's somewhat related to our community workshop. And and I've got a slide for this a little later on, but we've scheduled a community workshop in September, mid-September. We want to keep the online survey open through September, because the workshop itself may generate some interest. We may have people that turn out for the workshop that didn't hear about the survey and would like to take it. And so we want to keep it open for at least a week and probably just go until the end of September, September 30th, and then close out the survey. That gives us plenty of time to digest everything the survey is pointing to and start to finalize the plan going into October. And it is our intention to wrap up this plan by the end of 2024.
Okay. Would it be possible to download and share the
Absolutely, yeah.
comments without necessarily going to all the work that you described and
Yeah,
compiling the data? I think it would be helpful for this
Sure.
committee to be able to read the comments that our fellow residents have made about the project. That will
Yep.
help us give you feedback as well.
sure. Yeah, we could do that. I can do that as soon as I get off this call. I can distribute it. I'll just pull it down as a PDF summary, and that will provide some basic charts and statistics on some of the multi-choice or yes or no type responses, and that will also include open-ended comments, which will add the most to the page length. But yeah, I'm happy to distribute that.
Right. Do you all agree that would be useful, or would you be interested in it?
Usually, like preliminary data is used to figure out if you're reaching your target audience and if you need to oversample a particular population. So I just want to
Yes.
caution you from drawing conclusions from preliminary comments outside of the larger
Yeah.
survey.
Yeah, it's a great point. And as I mentioned, I think we have to be careful not to place too much value on this survey alone, because we know we're reaching a very small percentage of the town's population. And we have to take that into account.
Okay. Do any other members have any questions or comments about the survey?
Patrice, I know that you had some concern about not reaching enough people with the survey. Do you feel better about it where we're at now?
Well, when the chair asked the question about the number of responses and how it compared to other communities, I feel like I didn't really hear an answer. I know that we said there was another community in Connecticut that used the same firm. I don't know the size of that community as far as the population, but I'd be curious to know when you did the survey for them, for their complete streets policy, what was the response rate given their community population? So if it was a similar size community, 40,000, and you had 500 responses, we're on track. But if they had a lot more responses and they're not that much bigger than we are or smaller than we are, then we have work to do. And that's my only concern, is that we don't know, we don't have any sense of where we are with this and if we need to be doing more.
Sure.
For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was out in the community taking flyers around, and there were a whole lot of people saying, I've never seen this before. I've never heard of this before. I mean, I took it down to Noang Firehouse, and they had never even heard of it. They were all wrapped around the Main Street project. They didn't have any clue about this happening. So I'm just worried we're missing whole pockets. And unless you do some preliminary work, we're not going to know if we have or not. So kind of like a formative assessment kind of situation.
Yeah. So to directly answer your question, because you seem like you'd prefer to have an exact number. In the town of West Hartford, we are completing their bike plan and their townwide bike plan. Our survey, and we're talking about a town of 60,000 people. Our survey, we had 1,116 responses.
We're well short.
Okay, you're half that, but your population, correct me if I'm wrong, is less than half of West Hartford's at 60,000.
Did you just say West Hartford was how many people?
About 60,000.
We have 40,000.
Okay,
So
you're
well short.
thinking you were a little short. So you're not that far short then. You need to hit 600 to be on par with West Hartford, but I don't want to suggest that West Hartford is the standard, like we achieved the perfect number in West Hartford. Ideally, we have 40,000 responses to this. But we know we're not going to get everyone to participate. Now, the real issue is, and I think as you correctly point out, it's a lot of people don't even know about it. So it's not that people aren't interested or aren't choosing to participate, it's that they don't know about it. And I do know that Mark and the department has been doing everything they can to promote the survey. The town is responsible for the promotion of this. We are not tasked with that. We're tasked with developing the promotional materials in the survey itself and using the data, but we're not responsible for promotion. So that being said, I think you correctly point out that we need to get the word out to more people, and it would be great if we could drive participation.
I do think that this group can brainstorm a number of ways and events throughout the summer where we can collect this data.
Well, the fact is, it's an online survey, and so the outreach is most effective if someone is just copy and pasting the link or just going to Greater Groton and clicking the conversion from a paper flyer or one of the postcards to actually taking the survey, I think is more challenging. So I think everyone should just redouble their efforts to push out, to all of their contacts, asking for them to take the survey and to spread the word, because I don't know if we're going to have better penetration any other way.
There could be some inventive ways, like putting together a kiosk at the library. When people walk in, they're asked to take the survey, and there it is online, ready for them to go to it. I think Patrice's example of talking to people about it, because sometimes you see a card like that and you think you'll get to it later, but if somebody has a conversation with you about why it's so important, I think people are more likely to participate.
Okay, well, we have work to do, and we'll review what you send us to get a better idea of what people are telling us in the survey. So thanks for that. Okay, why don't we move on? Go ahead. Your next slide, please.
All right, so we've also been busy conducting focus group meetings and scheduling and conducting focus group meetings. We are tasked with conducting at least 5 focus group meetings, and these are intended to be virtual meetings with small groups of people, 5 to 10 or 12 people. And we've sent out a few rounds of invitations. We've successfully connected with and have conducted focus group meeting with bicycle commuters and advocates. That was in June. And earlier this month with a small group of people to talk about parks and open space connectivity. And we're in the process of finalizing our meeting reports for those. As I mentioned, we intend to conduct at least 3 more of those meetings. We've had a hard time getting responses from other constituents. We would like to connect one with any institution, or conduct a meeting with any institutional presences if possible, major employers, schools, organizations, that sort of thing. And then a couple other groups. We're somewhat flexible in the theme of these meetings. It's really driven by who we can get to participate. I think it would make a lot of sense to have one with town staff, potentially board or commission members. We have not, as of yet, had success in getting interest on the part of public safety to participate. But we know those folks are busy, so we just need to keep sending out the invites. And more recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, we conducted a call with the bicycle and planning staff at SECOG just to share resources. They have very good understanding of all the projects that are in the works regionally with respect to bicycle and pedestrian projects, pathway projects, greenways, that sort of thing. And so they provide us a bunch of information, links to projects, some mapping. And we updated them on where we're at in this process as well. So we have an open line of communication with Kate Rattan at SE Cog. Okay. And then Brian, you'd asked us to talk about the demonstration project. So the demonstration project is something that we're scoped to do. We're tasked to plan and design up to 3 demonstration projects. And when we talk about a demonstration project, what we're talking about are improvements to small localized improvements to a roadway or an intersection that typically provide a traffic calming solution, improve pedestrian connections, and to the extent that we can provide an improvement for bicyclists, we would as well. These are projects that go in a day. Very often we use volunteers, and the image on the right is a project we did on Main Street in Hartford, and are in place for at least a full season, up through a winter, or maybe some elements of it are removed before the winter. So we have been considering potential locations, project types for Groton. We are tasked to lead one of these or be on site for the first project to help kind of provide some instruction as to how to conduct one, and the other 2 would be left to the town to conduct. We would do the conceptual planning for them. We do need to go through the traffic authority for approval. And we talked with Mark about potentially conducting one in September before, we get into any adverse weather in the fall. And so that it could be in place for a good part of the fall before winter comes. So in order to meet that schedule, we need to have a concept available or ready for the traffic authority to review at their August meeting, and then hopefully approve to position us to do something in September. And if it had to wait until October, that we could do that as well. So we have been scouring our mapping in the town for potential projects and project locations, and we certainly hope that you folks have an idea. One of the first ones that I came across as potential, and myself and Nicole have been looking into this. Brian, I think this will look very familiar to you. Is the intersection of I assume it's pronounced Latham High Street and Noank Road. We're looking straight down on it, and it's High Street and Latham converging here. This really wide area with a very wide intersection at Noank Road with another road on the other side. There's no crosswalk across Noank Road here, which is 215, and it's a real big intersection. The sight lines are pretty good. They're not, they're not really long, but I think they're adequate for the provision of crosswalks. So the idea would be to provide a crosswalk across Noank Road to connect these 2 streets on opposite side of the road. There is not a you have to go a ways to reach a crosswalk if you're interested in crossing the road. So this would be a very good location. As I mentioned, the sight lines seem favorable and provide us an opportunity to throttle down the size of this intersection. It doesn't need to be that full width to accommodate the operations and turning movements. So that's one idea. Now, bear in mind, this interfaces with the state road. Some of the improvements would be on the local road side. So this would also have to be not only approved by the traffic authority, but coordinated with DOT in order for this to happen. Which, DOT's been more receptive to these types of projects, but it's something that we don't fully have control over. If we're able to find a comparable location that had these kind of complexity of issues where we think we could really add some value by doing a project that shows what it could be, and it were exclusively on local roads, that would certainly be a lot easier. And we did have one other location that we identified that has similar issues, not anywhere near as complex. It's further up Noank Road at where it meets Fishtown Road at BB Pond. You have a continuous sidewalk on the south or left side of the street. On the right side of the street, just a short segment of sidewalk. So really, if you're walking up Noank Road to cross over to BB Pond, you have to cross without a crosswalk. So this would be maybe a good location for a crosswalk, and potentially a little bit of a narrowing of the entrance to BB Road to slow turning movements across the crosswalk. So that being said, those are two projects we've identified to date. We're happy to continue looking, but we're also very receptive to ideas that you might have on potential projects and locations.
So have any members thought about this? And do you have any suggestions?
I'm wondering about this, these two areas that you're proposing for demonstration, what it's like there. My perception is that there's a lot of people that speed around that area. And if there isn't some traffic calming measures that we could use in conjunction with the crosswalks.
Yep. Yes, and we typically do try to do both at the same time for, you know, the reasons you state, to control speed and make it a little safer to cross the road. And if I go back to this one, I do think we've got some potential here. Most of the traffic calming would really occur on the side streets and off of Noank Road. So that would calm turning movements in and out of High and Latham, but wouldn't necessarily impact travel speeds on Noank Road. We're fairly limited in what we can do. If I go back to the Fishtown Road intersection, there's not much we can do in terms of narrowing. We have to be mindful of the fact there's also bicycle traffic on this road that's taking advantage of that exceedingly narrow shoulder or the right side of the road. So we don't want to do anything with traffic delineator posts, which are those plastic posts with narrow posts with reflective tops that are designed to separate traffic, you know, guide it, but also can be hit. We don't want to do anything like that here into Noank Road, because then we would be sending bikes further into the travel lane to go around them. So that's not a great solution. In terms of vertical measures, you know, the town would have to own some temporary speed humps, which are large rubber mats that can be deployed, but DOT isn't going to go for that on a state roadway anyway. If we're talking about a local road, that could be an option, but town would have to own something like that, and those are several $1,000s a piece. So we're somewhat limited there. What we could potentially, I don't know if if the town owns a speed feedback sign. That's one of those speed limit signs that asks you to slow down if you're going too fast. If they do own some of those portable signs, it would make sense to deploy it wherever we provide an improvement and keep it in place for, you know, a while. Very often those are rotated around a town and location to improve their efficacy.
Mr. Chair. After you're done.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna have to deal with a state road anyhow. How about looking at the intersection of Depot and Route 1?
Okay.
Because you get a lot of students walking home from school in that area, and we're putting in facilities at the bottom of that road. You get a lot of bicyclists going down to Bluff Point. And I think it would be much more visible to the larger community if it was in the center of town. It would be, you know, as it's right next to town hall, I think it would make a nice statement that, yeah, we're investing in the whole town.
Okay.
If you have to deal with a state road anyhow.
Can I just ask one?
Is there a crosswalk at that location right now?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's at least one crosswalk.
All right.
I did
And
ask.
I mean, we'll take a look at it. I wonder, do you know if there are pedestrian signal heads or if it's just a green light crossing, like you just push the
There's
button?
a push buttons there now.
There
Yeah,
are pedestrian single
It
heads.
could be a green light crossing though, where you push, you got a green light, you have to cross with traffic. All right, we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Can I also ask, is this demonstration more for you guys to see kind of like how it affects the traffic patterns, or is this more
No.
to show the
For the-
residents
Yeah,
what we're doing.
the latter. We,
Okay.
we can anticipate the effect that the improvements would have. We do, sometimes when we do these demonstration projects, we'll get out, or sometimes the town has capacity to get out and collect speed data. And then we'll do a before and after, and it helps to document the actual impact, not just the perceived impact that the project has on traffic speeds.
Gotcha. I do think it would be cool. I mean, I love a good crosswalk. We all do. That's cool for the town to see too. But I do think it would be cool to see something slightly more innovative, like a bike lane or some kind of other thing that they haven't really seen before, to give them like a little bit more of an idea of what could be done as well.
So I'd say with the bike lane, we would have to be very targeted in, if we could identify a segment of road where there is a gap in the bike network between, let's say, a couple parks, open space parcels, trails that there's a road connection that connects the two, but otherwise no other bicycle connection. And it would be a very short connection, and there's actually room on the road right now. It's just a matter of carving out some space for bicyclists. Then that's the type of project I think might be feasible as a bicycle improvement measure. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to do a mile roadway. We've got to focus on a couple 100 feet maybe, and let's just use this. I'm not saying this location. Let's use this roadway, this image that we're looking at. This roadway is probably close to 30 feet wide, which means it could handle 2 10-foot travel lanes and 2 5-foot bike lanes. It's not striped as such, but if we could do a few hundred feet, couple 100 feet, it would require the purchase of traffic delineator posts spaced every 10 or 20 feet. But if we could get 50 of those, it's a couple $1,000, and deploy those as to delineate the bike lane, then maybe that's the type of project we could do. But it has to be a real short segment to be feasible, and preferably a local roadway. It's going to be challenging coordinating with DOT on any state roadways.
All right, thank you.
So Francisco, I've been looking at the town road network and with this project type in mind, and it really is hard to find a location that meets the criteria that's not either on or intersecting a state road. And I'm concerned that the DOT just doesn't move as quickly as this project is moving, and that it's going to be really challenging, if not unlikely, that we could get approval from DOT for any alterations to one of their state roads. And so with that in mind, I've been looking for alternative sites that are not on state roads that would just require town approval, traffic authority approval, or not even traffic authority approval. So I've got a couple of ideas.
Okay.
So one of them is a road that connects a trail to Depot Road and Bluff Point. It's called Industrial Drive.
Yep.
The GNS trolley trail intersects with Industrial Drive, and then it's a relatively short segment, but it's a few hundred feet, I believe, to the intersection with Depot Drive. That's also, that intersection is the site of the upcoming Groton pump track. And there's a lot of bike commuters that use that route. So I think we could consider it. The road's very lightly traveled. It's a dead end road, and it might be wide enough. It's also been approved for resurfacing, but Greg, I think that's next year, right?
We could do it.
Okay.
We got the funds approved this year, so we could do it this fall or next spring.
So it could tie in with so the road is in it's been approved for resurfacing, so it's going to be resurfaced. So this project could correlate with a striping plan if there is enough space to actually stripe a bike lane. So take a look at Industrial Drive. from the trailhead, which you'll see on the map, to its intersection with Depot Road. So that's one candidate. And then another one is a little different, a little out of the box kind of project. I know you're familiar with traffic gardens, and they're being implemented in some communities. I know that Canton is looking into building one, and I think there's at least one community in Connecticut that has implemented a traffic garden. And so that's just for the committee, it's a demonstration space on a paved area where you basically miniaturize and simulate different kinds of roadway conditions that a bicyclist needs to learn to navigate. So left turn stop signs, yield signs, bike lanes, that sort of thing. And it's paint on pavement, and then could be portable signs like stop signs, yield signs, that sort of thing. And it's really intended for children to learn the basics of navigating, riding a bicycle on a road. And we've got some potential sites for, I would say, a temporary traffic garden. And I'm thinking of Gloucester Elementary School site, which is right in the center of town, that has parking lot spaces. And so that's off of a road that would not require traffic authority input. The question is whether its scale and scope is appropriate or within our means, but perhaps it's one that you guys provide us guidance and the town implements rather than you guys having to do it, because it would require some planning. So those are two. And then a third one is somehow piggybacking on what will be our second annual car-free day on River Road, where the road will be closed to through traffic and only open for cyclists and pedestrians. And it allows residents and people with specific business, to pass up and down the road. But it really takes the majority of traffic off the road for half a day. And so maybe it's just an opportunity to provide marketing or educational material, or, just an enhanced presence at the event. Those are my suggestions so
Okay.
far.
All right, thank you, Brian.
Brian.
Oh, and that event, by the way, I didn't tell you date wise.
I got some items.
Mid-September is our target on a
Okay.
Saturday or Sunday for River Road. Okay.
Yep.
Tom has
A
my.
couple items. Well, first off, on the one that you've got displayed right now on Noank Road,
Yeah.
that's about 200 yards north of where the state is already putting in their the culvert replacement, which was supposed to put in a full up complete street section there for 300 feet or whatever, right?
Right.
I think this is not the appropriate place to be doing that, because they're already going to have, or essentially the state's going to be putting this in over the course of the next year.
Okay.
So I think, that has to be put into consideration. I don't know unless you're going to try to link this location
Too
with,
far away.
I know it's not close, but it's not far either.
Yeah.
The other thing is on the industrial drive area. Mark Berry had put in a grant request for, I think, 300,000 something or another for that whole Depot Road for the connectivity of Depot Road all the way over to Sutton Park area. And I don't know where he is on that whole mess. Because
Okay.
that's kind of, I'm
Right.
just trying to integrate that together.
So there are two projects. There's a community connectivity project that's funded to put bike lane striping and signage on the Midway Oval and
Is that the one that went to?
Depot Road, and then a multi-use path into and through Sutton Park.
Right.
So that's in design. The Sutton Park piece is incorporated into the Sutton Park upgrades.
Okay.
Which my firm is preparing drawings on. So that's happening. The other one is the bike route to Thomas Road all the way through Route 1 and South Road past the airport. That one has had challenges finding anyone to submit a proposal. to be the designer.
Mhm.
So that's kind of hung up, right? So I don't know if this can realistically interface with either of those,
Okay.
but
Well, I didn't know if Depot Road was incorporated. I mean, if the industrial drive was already incorporated in with the Depot Road.
I don't
It's
think it
not-
is actually.
No, it's
no.
not. It's like
It's
a
not.
missing link between this trolley trail and
Yeah,
Depot Road.
Okay.
It's not really
so-
included in any
so-
project right now.
yeah. So I think, do we agree to rank industrial drive as our first choice here?
I have no problem with industrial drive because they're already doing stuff on it and it's very well marked all the way to to industrial drive and then getting it over to the park. If that's going to link up with with the rest of it, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, I think if
Okay.
we have any say in it, I prefer that idea with the traffic garden, you called it, that being the second one. But
Yeah.
I do like the idea of it being on down there by the pump track.
So just to reiterate, there are 3 projects in the scope. One that FHI will actually actively, work on installing, and the other 2, they'll do the design scoping of it, and the town will commit to installing. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So if Depot is the hands-on project, then it would mean putting down, what would it be? Would it be temporary paint or cones or toilet plungers to mark the line? Or what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
probably not toilet plungers. It would be a combination, if I go back to our Hartford slide. And so this paint here, this just exterior house paint, right? It holds up for several months and eventually, if it's exposed back to traffic, it'll wear away. We did install white, I probably barely make them out in between the traffic cones, which were just temporary. We did install white traffic delineator posts that are glued to the pavement and would stay in for the duration of the improvement. So we could use some combination of those as well. There are some other tools and measures that we could use, but those are the primary 2 that we often deploy.
And then this would be planned to open and be an event, correct? So that we would
Yeah.
invite folks to come and ride it and experience it and promote
Correct.
it as far as possible.
And the installation of the project itself is often an event. In this image here, we have a handful of staff and everyone else was volunteer. So they're very often a community building event. And the first project, so we are tasked with being present at the first project to help guide it, but it's still, the town's project technically. So the town would be staffing it, providing equipment as needed. And we would be there to provide guidance. And then after that, it would be entirely incumbent upon the town to take those projects on.
Okay. I think we've made progress on this. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. We will take a look at those locations, project ideas, continue to develop those. Share that with Mark, which I imagine he'll make whatever we come up with available to all of you so that we are in agreement with respect to what we go to the traffic authority with in August, assuming it's something they would need to weigh in on.
I'm just looking at the traffic authority. Their meeting hasn't been posted yet as far as what date it's going to be.
We're anticipating, right, at some point in August, mid-August, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
So when you meet with the traffic authority, the chief of police sits on the traffic authority. If you're having difficulty getting input from them, that might be a good time since you'll have his ear.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. All right, so our next steps in this process will, of course, continue the development of our complete streets network mapping. Identify and prepare a conceptual design for the first demonstration project. Continue scheduling, conducting focus group meetings, and conduct the community workshop, which is on July 18th at 6 p.m. I don't have the location right in front of me, but Mark did reserve a room for that. We will soon. September. Let me,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, let me fix
Yeah.
that.
Geez, I didn't hear about that.
John, you ready? It's tomorrow. You ready? Yeah, sorry about that. So September 18th at 6 p.m. And it's an in-person workshop open to the public, and we'll start to develop promotional materials for that for the town to distribute.
So with respect to the workshop, I think we'd like to know in advance what the format will be and what your goals and objectives for that event will be.
Yeah, we anticipate having that agenda prepared for you for discussion at your August meeting.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we're gonna go, just for information, we're gonna come out of this meeting, go straight to that one.
That's right, it's the same day.
All right, yeah, well, I take it back. It's the 18th. Oh, the 18th, yeah. So, yeah, September 18th.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Before you go, are there any other questions for Francisco from the committee? No. No. All right. Thank you guys very much for your work.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's move on to our town projects. Noank Main Street project is moving along. There's going to be a public information meeting the 25th. So that's next Thursday, I think.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
7 p.m. in
In
the-
room one, yeah,
the council
annex, yeah.
chamber, the largest room up front. Do you have any intel on it, format, or anything that you heard about it, Greg?
Yeah, we're working with our consultant to kind of update the concept plans, based on some of the comments that this group gave them, some comments I gave them. So the format is pretty much, we're gonna have like 3 kind of options, but kind of present and go through each option, what the different ideas that they've come up with, and then kind of open it up for public input. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of people there. I've already had residents reaching out to me asking about it, and there was an article in the day paper, I believe, this past weekend about it. So this is going to be, I'm sure, quite a packed house. But it's early in the stages, just to kind of put some ideas on paper and then get some input from the residents. There's going to be some things that they like. There's going to be some things that they're going to say absolutely not and no like, and that's the kind of feedback we're looking for from them. And then from that point, we'll start developing the preliminary plans. And once we get to like a 30% stage, then we'll come back again to the public and another meeting.
All right, sounds good. The next item is status of the road safety audit requested for Group 1. Do you have any updates on that?
Yeah, I did. As I think I mentioned to you, Brian, that does have to go to the traffic authority. I did start putting the application together. It's pretty involved because they're looking for crash data and mapping and stuff like that. So, the corridor we're looking at is from Ring Drive, with the entrance to Grasso all the way up to Tollgate Road on Route 12. So it's quite a long stretch of road. So we're completing the application process, and I will take it to the traffic authority at their August meeting.
Okay, great.
So we can get that submitted.
All right, great, thank you. So August meeting.
The bike racks at Town Hall in the Annex. I did talk to Tabitha and Parks Maintenance. They have received the bike racks. They purchased those. I believe they have an area at town hall picked out or working on that, and they should maybe be going in. She said as soon as next week.
Great.
The annex, they're still looking at a location here. So we should hopefully the next few weeks get that in.
Tom will be happy to hear that.
Standing by.
Okay.
All right. That's all I've got. Do any of you have any other projects or issues to bring up? Oh, I have a question, Tom. Maybe you know the answer. As the town selected, perhaps you know as well, a consultant for the DOCD,
Horsley Witten has been selected.
Horsley.
Horsley Witten,
Horsley, yeah. Has the town worked with them previously?
yes.
Did they work on the zoning regulations? And when will that start work?
So we've scheduled a staff kickoff meeting in 2 weeks. They're developing an information needs plan. So in the next month and a half, we'll have a larger staff meeting to let people know these guys are gonna be contacting you, looking for information. Commission kickoff probably won't happen until the end of the summer.
Okay. Great. That's good to hear. Okay. That's all I think we've got for the agenda today. So we can adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will adjourn.
I kept thinking you were about to speak.
So second, please.
I second.
All right. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Everybody was at their mic like, yeah.